Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
David Fradin from the Spice Catalyst is joining us here again today. Excited to talk to him more about the work he's doing to help people, with their products and make them more successful with market strategy and so much more. By the way, David, this is like our, fifth show already, I think? And we have been running through and excited that you're back here today. We're going to share some visuals, but we've gotten to know each other. But there are new time listeners out there who may not know all about David Fradin, and we don't have 24 hours, but we could do that because you're a man of many words, many titles, many careers, many accolades. So I commend you for being, the work you've done as an author, as a speaker, and here as a business owner. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your endeavors, and then we'll get to today's episode. Talk a little more about process.
Yeah, I graduated University of Michigan in interdisciplinary engineering. I was a product manager at Hewlett-Packard and at Apple. I was a business unit manager for the Apple III product line at Apple. And I brought about 75 products and services to market over the years. I've written a little pamphlet called Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit. I don't know if you can see it here because of the green screen. There we go. And it's only 796 pages. It's available, published by Wiley.
Yes.
And it's used in executive education courses throughout the world, including a couple of prominent universities in India. Then I've also written this book, Building and Selling Great Products, which takes you through, along with the other one in more detail, the 5 keys to product success, which maps into the name of my company, Spice Catalysts. S stands for product market strategy. And the previous 3 podcasts that we did in this series covered the 32 components of the product market strategy in detail. And today we're going to talk about the P of Spice, which is process. And to illustrate that, let me show you a product lifecycle framework that I put together. And we'll see if this graphic will get up there.
Yeah, let's share our screen. And also spicecatalyst.com, that's the website. And here we are. What's this? Ooh.
So the top part of it is the product market strategy, which is primarily the responsibility of the product manager. And it starts out with understanding what it is that you do, going through your problem scenarios, your market competition, research and analysis, technology insights, which we talked about last week in terms of what we call the perfect storm, writing personas for your target customer, estimating the market size, the value, determining the value proposition, positioning the product to the market, what are the opportunities. Then you bring to bear innovation, which is ways to do things quicker, faster, better, higher quality, or with style. And then what we always did at HP is we put together a feature advantage benefits matrix for that particular product, your pricing strategy, your budget for product development to calculate your ROI, a product roadmap leading to a product portfolio. So the important thing is that you follow a process like this and repeat it over and over again, because as you grow, Harvard has found in a process maturity curve, your chances for success are improved. I had one client a few years ago that came out with 5 products. All 5 failed in the marketplace. And I asked them if they had a framework like this or a process like this that they followed. They said no, they did something different every time they brought out each new product. And what resulted is everybody would blame everybody else for the failure. So he coined the term that if you lack a repeatable process, you end up with a culture of blame, which is not successful for the company moving ahead. The rest of this talks about the product development and then the marketing, which is predominantly driven by the product marketing people in terms of the launch of the product, the marketing of the product, and then, of course, operations and end of life.
Now, obviously, you're talking today about the product management, the product marketing, and what else on the screen did you want to point out for, the launch into the operations section?
No, that's pretty much it as far as the process is concerned.
Okay. And then we'll go into the training, support, and services as well. And for today, what did you have in mind?
Well, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the digital transformation. That a lot of processes and business activities and sales activities are done in the physical world, sometimes with paper, sometimes with books and pamphlets and that type of thing. And a lot of it is transitioned physically into the digital world. And it's important that companies have a plan to do that. To give you an example, a few years ago, I was retained by SABIC, which is the Saudi Arabia plastics company, which is a subsidiary of Aramco, their petroleum company. And they bought out General Electric's high-tech plastics division. And they wanted to figure out how they could go through a digital transformation. So I led a 3-day seminar for them on the topic. And one of the things that I found is that a lot of industrial engineers, when they're designing product packaging, use AutoCAD, which is a computer-aided design program from Autodesk. And after they finish designing the packaging, right there electronically, they could look up different plastics along with their characteristics that they could then specify for the manufacturing of that particular package. Well, SABIC did not have their data book in AutoCAD, so that what was happening is those companies that offered plastics that did have their data in the electronic data book on Autodesk were the ones that were getting specified, and the SABIC products were not being specified for future products. So key to their digital transformation was to make their data book available in electronic searchable form so that Autodesk's AutoCAD could tie into it. There are other examples of that where many companies could be automating things. Just the simple thing of trying to make an appointment to go see your dentist, where you have to play a telephone tag with a receptionist.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, they say, how about this day? No, how about that day? No, how about this day? Whereas if you could just send your calendar, as we can with things like Calendly, and you can book me to the dentist office, or the dentist office puts their available appointments on the web, you can save a whole lot of time with that kind of digital transformation.
By the way, when did that all start? What year was that where things started to transform digitally? Do you recall?
Probably in the mid-90s with the advent of the internet.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. I feel like it's not until like 10 years ago I was able to do that with my doctor appointments. It took a while, and especially doctor's office to conform, because everyone had to scan all the old files. That was a headache and a half for every company, right, to do, because that was get all that paperwork, and they used to have storage units, and they have to scan everything. My goodness, I remember those days. My girlfriend worked at a doctor's office, and they spent hours upon hours doing that to digitize everything and to set themselves up. Wow. Well, digital transformation, I know you want to embark upon. You wrote something in your notes, which I'm not sure what it means, so I need your help. The SABIC example. What's that?
Yeah, that's the one that I just gave, SABIC.
It's called, perfect. That's just okay, thank you. I wasn't sure what that was, because that's something different. And along the lines of the customer journey was what I was looking at when we started today.
Yeah, now what I wanted to do is talk about the customer journey, and this is the things that a prospective customer goes through in order to buy a product. And it starts out with a status quo, and then there's a trigger point, a reason for them to have to go, to want to go buy it. And a lot of people, like Newton's third law of body at rest tends to stay at rest, are just sitting there at the status quo. There's nothing triggering them to start the customer journey to acquire a new product or service. So one of the things marketeers have to do is create that trigger point. And that can be done with incentives and discounts and all the 11 Ps of marketing, pricing, placement, and so forth. Then the individual or the company starts exploring their options. And in the olden days, before the internet, they would search out data sheets and specs and descriptions and brochures and so forth. Now they tend to go to the web and do all their market research there. And also, as part of exploring their options, they used to call the salespeople and have the salespeople explain their product or service to them. They're no longer doing that. I don't remember what the numbers are now, but a few years ago, it was approaching 70% or so or more of the information a prospective buyer had long before they ever talked to the salesperson. So the role of the salesperson has changed, and the role of marketing has changed to help the individual explore their options and learn more about what products or services will fulfill or fit their needs. Next, they'll go through evaluating the solutions, and then they'll make a business case either to themselves or to the buyer or the decision maker as to why that product should be acquired. And the decision maker could be different. Let's suppose you're married and you have some children, and the child sees an ad on a Saturday morning cartoon for a toy. Well, the child's not the decision maker, but the influencer. And the child will make the business case to the parents, one or the other of them, or both of them, that have the buying authority to try to convince them to buy the product. And as part of that business case, that's the internal buy-in that they have to get within the organization. Could be a family unit, or it could be a Fortune 500 company. Then the actual purchase is made, and the solution is deployed. If I was consulting with a little company called Cisco on networking products in their services department about 15 years ago, and they were having trouble to get internet service providers to upgrade and replace their existing Cisco routers with the new routers from Cisco. So I asked them, after you have deployed this, did you come back a year or two or three later and validate that they got a return on investment on the routers that they purchased? And the answer was no, they were not doing that. I said, well, you have to do that. Otherwise, when you want to come back and sell them something new, you can't show them that they've already gotten a return on their investment and they can save and or make more money by buying a new upgraded version of a router, for example. This is something that Oracle does, something that Xerox does, where they will go out I remember one of the Philips, a medical imaging company, they collect data from all their imaging devices located in hospitals around the world. And each year, a person from Philips, account rep, would go visit each of their installations and say, look at teaching hospitals around the world. This is how they have deployed their imaging device, and this is what kind of return on investment they got for it compared to these other places. And here's some suggestions for you to make some changes in order to improve your profitability or your customer service or quality of care or whatever it may be. As a result of getting that data, people would be reluctant to switch from Philips to, say, a GE imaging device because they would lose access to that data to how to improve things. And at the flip side of that, in the example of Cisco, they're having difficulty with slowdown in sales of making new sales of routers because they haven't validated the value already. Then the next step is expand the installation into more areas of the company. For example, a few years ago, I did a multi-million-dollar deal with Sears for a software as a service I was selling, which was personal recommendations like Amazon's recommendations to go on the Sears.com website. Well, after we got on that website, they saw that their sales increased significantly. I was then introduced to Kmart, which is also a Sears-owned company, and then to Sears Parts, which is a Sears-owned company, and they started working down the list of about 130 different e-commerce sites that Sears owned, expanding based upon the value that was returned and demonstrated at Sears.com. And then after those successes, I was able to ask them, well, can you refer me to some other individuals in other places that might be interested in the same thing? And the product manager that I worked with at Sears left a few years later, and he went over to Expedia, which gave me an opportunity to sell the same product into Expedia. And then the whole cycle starts all over again. So it's important that there are different things that need to be done from a product development, product design, product marketing standpoint of the product or the service, which is different for each different part of the customer's journey.
Well, thank you for that. And by the way, I don't know if you wanted to, your screen obviously still being shared. I didn't know if you were going to add more slides to it or you didn't, to continue, or you want to get off of that just in case. But it'll just look better for editing later. And let's remind everyone at this time how we can contact you, David. There you go.
You can go through, you can go to my website, spicecatalyst.com, or send me an email at dave@spicecatalyst.com, or connect with me. Just search for my name on LinkedIn. Or if you're interested in my books, you can go to Amazon or my website. And on my website are also some on-demand and in-person and online courses that cover all of the topics that we're talking about in these 10 podcasts.
Oh, my goodness. We are on a roll here. All right. So customer journey. And then the big one is the social media. Eeks. There's so much that goes into that, right?
Yeah, there's very big websites. LinkedIn, for example, which was bought 3 years ago by Microsoft. And it's predominantly a business networking website with a great deal of credibility. So if someone contacts you through LinkedIn, you can be fairly assured that it's a legitimate person, and you can network. So I've got about 17,000 connections on LinkedIn, and we message back and forth on different topics. So there's different groups you can join there and so forth. However, fraudsters and scammers are now beginning to use LinkedIn, and they copy somebody else's picture, somebody else's background and profile, and they contact people and try to develop relationships, and then try to convince them to invest in things like spot gold or cryptocurrency and that type of thing. Recently, LinkedIn has doubled down on their two-factor authorization to be able to sign in. I kind of suspect that's as a result of all the fraud that's been flowing through there from that standpoint. So you have to be careful. Facebook is another one, but that tends to be person-to-person or social. So if you have products that are sold to individuals, then a Facebook is a good place to be and set up a Facebook page for your product or your service. If you're doing business to business, LinkedIn is a little bit better place to be. Instagram, which is also owned by Facebook or Meta, is good if you've got a product that has some sort of visual sense to it. TikTok, of course, is huge now, which is used by a younger demographic and small videos. And there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money on it. A lot of products have been endorsed and so forth. Then lately is Twitter or X. But unfortunately, after this past election, a lot of us have been canceling our subscriptions and memberships on X, since it's gone completely off in one direction and is amplifying QAnon and other things. So it's kind of hard to have much credibility if one's hanging out on X. In fact, one of Vice President Harris's chief political consultants just deleted his X profile after the election earlier this week. Wow. Then there's Telegram, and that is, you can also throw in there WhatsApp, which is owned by Meta, and those are both very dangerous places to hang out. But some people are using them to market and sell their products. It used to be you'd have to, for example, you would run ads, and one chief ad executive says, I know half of my ads are not effective. I just don't know which half. Well, with the digital targeting that you can do on these social media, you can know which ads are working and which ads are not working, which things are getting clicked on, how long people are looking at different things, and you can adjust your advertising, and you can test your advertising very, very quickly to see what things are working and what things are not working.
Now, let me just ask, so do you think Twitter or X is going to fully go away at this point? Like, it's so crazy. I never signed on to that. I mean, I have my old Twitter account, but then it changed over and I wasn't happy. But just curious, is that what everyone's predicting? It's going to go away?
Yeah, I think it's going to become a cesspool, as it already has. A lot like, what is that? There's a couple of them out there where the QAnon conspiracy theories circulate. And I will delve into that eventually. And eventually, advertisers will recognize that if they're running ads on there, they're just wasting their money. They're promoting racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and all of those kinds of things. And their ads, can you imagine a company like Nestle's ads running next to some homophobic ad on Twitter? That destroys their brand.
Yeah.
And there's efforts out there. One of them is a website called Check Your Ads. And they are trying to hold these major accounts accountable to follow their policies. And they've been fairly effective to get Google, their ad engines will just put any ad they can on everything they can and try to put it on those things that get the most clicks. And things that spout hate tend to get 10 times more clicks than things that spout truth or love.
Oh.
So
like
we're building on
social,
the worst.
right?
Yeah.
And what about WhatsApp? Is that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. WhatsApp is also a texting messaging platform, and there it's encrypted end to end. But you don't know who you're talking to at the other end, if they're actually a real person or a scammer and Miramar that's trying to get some money from you. So I think I probably get 5, hello, who is this? Or and that's on Messenger, which is on Microsoft, on Facebook, or on iMessage from Apple. I got your name in my phone book, and I don't know where it came from. In fact, I got an interesting one today that suggested that it was from my daughter, had her name at the top of the message, and said, "Dad, can you send some money to a couple people because I dropped my phone in the sink and I can't access my bank accounts."
Oh my gosh.
So I called her to confirm that was her. She says, "No, I don't know that." But somehow someone was able to get a hold of my phone number. My daughter's phone number, so they could impersonate sending from that phone number. So it was matched in my contacts list, and somehow, or they just guessed that I might be her dad. And it's quite possible, as we know, the Chinese have hacked into Verizon's telephone system. I use Xfinity Mobile, which is based on Verizon, and they were able to get information in terms of who was calling whom. So they had the combination of phone numbers that I just talked about. So I went in line and reported it to my local police department.
Good job. Thank you for that. Wow. It's amazing, the scam emails and stuff that's happening. And that's a whole nother episode of what's happening in our world after all this technology is out there, the good, the bad, the ugly. But we'll continue to talk about more of the positive, right? And we got to wrap up shortly. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about who's making that decision and, of course, to give us that Cisco example as well.
Yeah, if we go back to the customer journey that I showed early, the business case and the purchasing and the internal buy-in is usually made by 4 different roles in an organization. One is the driver, the person driving the decision to get made, and that's typically the product manager. There's the informed, that might be experts in that particular field inside the company, consultancies, market research firms outside the company. Then there's the approver that says, yeah, okay, we can go ahead and buy it. That's frequently in the purchasing department. And the last role is the decision maker, and that may be a CXO level officer that approves that type of purchase. I made a sale to a Defense Department company a few years ago, and it was for electronic display of work instructions on the factory floor. After the VP of manufacturing signed off on it, 20 other people in the organization also had to sign off on it. So if I thought my sale was done with the one guy, I was badly mistaken. I had to put together the business case for the informed people, the driver, for the approver, and all 20 decision makers. And so it's very important to have that figured out ahead of time. And it's called a Gantt chart. Not called Gantt chart. It's called, I forget what the name of the chart is, but it's a decision making, a DACI chart. That's a DACI chart. which lays out who has what level of authority at each level of the decision making.
Interesting.
I was teaching product management to the Botswanian telecommunications company in Botswana a few years ago. And in the room was a product manager from a bank. And he said, my product just got canceled. And I said, did you have a DAISY chart? And he said, no. This new general manager came in an unrelated division, recommended to the president that the product be canceled. And they canceled it. And 20 people that have been working on the project were completely demoralized. And I said, if you have this DAISY chart, would that individual new general manager even be on the chart? And the answer was no. So by that point, it was too late. And that's why it's very important in your product market strategy and in your development and in your marketing, you have a DAISY chart.
Got it. All right. Well, we are almost out of time. How did you want to kind of end and sum up things for today?
Yeah, let me just mention briefly, frequently in my job at companies like HP and Apple and Cisco and so forth, I don't have the information I need to make a decision. So it's very important to convince management to make sure the market research, the data of sales and support and service are available so that an intelligent decision can be rendered on the product or the product line.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. How can we contact you directly?
Dave at spicecatalyst.com.
Perfect. And to leave off, also don't forget about picking up a copy of your books, even the almost 800-page one, right? And anything else? Are you anywhere in particular coming up soon? Are you speaking anywhere that we should be aware of?
Nothing scheduled now, but next week's podcast is the most important one of this series.
Oh.
And that's how to understand what it is that your customer wants to do.
Great promotion. All right. Sounds good. Thank you again. Pleasure having you back, and have a great rest of your week. We'll talk then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.